Good evening. It's Monday, the 15th of September, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Kirk investigations. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk shot dead at university. Investigators probe motive. Gaza strikes. Israel intensifies Gaza airstrikes as U.S. Senator Rubio arrives. Emmy winners. The Pit, Severance, Hacks and Adolescents win big at Emmy Awards.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Amarsha Fernando.
Good evening once again. Investigators are delving into the motive behind the tragic assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Authorities are examining potential ideological influences, including ties to leftist groups and personal connections, as they seek clarity.
This morning, Utah Valley University getting ready to reopen as memorials for political activist Charlie Kirk continue to grow. The university announcing employees will return to campus tomorrow, with classes resuming Wednesday. Investigators urgently working to determine a motive after announcing the arrest of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, the man police say assassinated Kirk with a single shot while Kirk was speaking at an event here at UVU in front of thousands.
It's been a vast, complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation.
On Friday, officials announcing the details of the 33-hour manhunt that led investigators to St. George, Utah, nearly 4 hours from the scene of the shooting.
A family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Sources telling ABC News the suspect turned himself in after his father recognized him in these photos, urging his son to come forward. Those sources say the suspect initially said no, but later changed his mind. The suspect held on suspicion of aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and felony discharge of a firearm. Utah Governor Spencer Cox calling for unity as the nation recovers from yet another act of political violence.
Every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us.
President Donald Trump has called on NATO member countries to stop purchasing Russian oil, citing energy security and geopolitical concerns. Analysts say this move could heighten tensions with Russia and impact global oil markets in the coming months.
A letter from Donald Trump to NATO countries with an ultimatum. Stop buying oil from Russia and the US will impose major economic sanctions on Moscow. The US president made the announcement on his Truth Social platform.
As you know, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%, and the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking. It greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. Anyway, I am ready to go when you are. Just say when.
It's not the first time Trump has suggested ending Russian oil imports, but meeting those demands would mark a major shift for NATO. While the EU imposed a ban on maritime Russian oil imports and refined oil products like diesel, a number of countries continue to import Russian fossil fuels and liquefied natural gas. Crude oil is also still being imported by Hungary and Slovakia, something that's causing a rift among EU members.
I think President Trump, when he says that Europe needs to stop buying Russian oil and gas, is right. And the finger points in two places. One is Hungary and the other one is Slovakia. And of course, we make sure that President Trump is aware of who is feeding the Russian war machine.
So far, the EU plans for its member states to completely phase out Russian oil by 2028. But Trump's ultimatum was not just sent to the EU. His letter includes Turkey, which is the third largest purchaser of Russian oil after China and India. The US president has already punished India, doubling tariffs to 50% on its exports to the United States.
Israel has intensified its airstrikes on Gaza City as U.S. Senator Marco Rubio arrives in the region. Officials warn of rising casualties while the international community closely watches developments amidst increasing tensions and humanitarian concerns.
Israeli forces destroyed at least 30 residential buildings in Gaza City and forced thousands of people from their homes, Palestinian officials have said, as US Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in the region for talks on Sunday. His visit comes amid tensions with fellow US allies in the Middle East over Israel's strike on Hamas leaders in Qatar last week. US officials have described Tuesday's strike on the territory of a close US ally as a unilateral escalation that did not serve American or Israeli interests. Israel has said it plans to seize Gaza City as part of its declared aim of eliminating Hamas, and has intensified attacks on what it says is the militant group's last bastion. Residents were said to have been given evacuation orders shortly before the bombing of buildings, which forced dozens of families to abandon makeshift shelters. Zakia Al-Zain is among the displaced. She said that as Israeli strikes hit residential towers, they got scared for the children and fled, leaving their clothes and everything else behind. Meanwhile, Rubio was visiting the Western Wall in Jerusalem with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Rubio said Washington wanted to talk about how to return 48 hostages from Gaza, of whom 20 are believed to be alive, and how to rebuild the enclave.
The United States and China have begun high-level trade talks in Spain, aiming to ease tensions over tariffs and economic disputes. Observers say the outcome could have significant global economic implications, especially as the TikTok deadline looms.
U.S. and Chinese officials concluded a first day of talks on trade in Madrid on Sunday. They come as ties between the two countries remain strained, with Washington demanding its allies place tariffs on imports from China over its purchases of Russian oil, and as a divestiture deadline looms for Chinese short video app TikTok. The Madrid talks are the fourth time in as many months that the delegations have met in European cities to try to keep a fractured U.S.-China trade relationship from collapsing under President Donald Trump's tariffs. Trump has approved the extension of current U.S. tariff rates on Chinese goods, totaling about 55%, until November 10th. At their last meet in Stockholm in July, they agreed in principle to extend for 90 days a trade truce that sharply reduced triple-digit retaliatory tariffs on both sides and restarted the flow of rare earth minerals from China to the United States. However, trade experts said there was little likelihood of a substantial breakthrough this time around. Experts say the most likely result of the Madrid talks may be another extension of a deadline faced by ByteDance, the owner of the app TikTok. Currently, it must divest its U.S. operations by September 17th or face a U.S. shutdown. Trump addressed the TikTok question before he departed from New Jersey to Washington on Air Force One.
They're negotiating TikTok right now. We may let it die, or we may, I don't know, it depends, up to China. It doesn't matter too much. I'd like to do it for the kids, they like it. I mean, selfishly speaking, I did very well on TikTok, and I got the youth vote.
A source familiar with the Trump administration's discussions on TikTok's future said the deadline would be extended for a fourth time since Trump took office in January. TikTok was not discussed in Stockholm or other previous rounds of U.S.-China talks, but the source said the issue's public inclusion as an agenda item on the Treasury's announcement of the talks gives the Trump administration political cover for another extension. Several experts Reuters spoke to said they expected more substantive outcomes to be saved for a potential meeting between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping later this year.
North Korea's leader's sister has sharply criticized the planned South Korea-US joint military exercises, calling them provocative and destabilizing. Analysts warn the move could escalate tensions at the Korean peninsula, drawing international attention to regional security concerns.
North Korea leader's sister has sharply criticized the planned South Korea-US joint military exercises, calling them highly provocative and destabilizing for the region. Pyongyang warns that these drills threaten peace and security on the Korean peninsula and has urged both nations to reconsider their plans immediately. The exercises involve advanced troop movements, coordinated operations, and the use of sophisticated military technology, which North Korea perceives as a direct threat to its sovereignty. Analysts note that similar exercises in the past have often triggered heightened rhetoric and warning of retaliation from Pyongyang, raising concerns about potential escalation. International observers are closely monitoring the situation, emphasizing that any miscalculation could have serious regional consequences. The comments from the leader's sister highlight North Korea's ongoing opposition to foreign military presence near its borders, while also serving as a signal to domestic audiences about the regime's firm stance on security. Diplomatic efforts remain crucial as regional powers seek to manage tensions, maintain stability, and prevent any incidents that could further inflame already fragile relations on the peninsula.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. And welcome back. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has been forced to close his Sydney office amidst ongoing protests. Supporters and opponents have clashed outside, prompting heightened security as the government seeks to address public concerns and restore normal operations.
The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese closes inner Sydney electorate office after almost 30 years, saying his hand had been forced by repeated protests outside the office. Albanese's office in Marrickville in his electorate of Grayndler has long been a target of demonstrations, particularly over the war in Gaza, including a month-long sit-in outside the office in 2024. Albanese said in a statement announcing the decision on the Sunday, "Sadly, over the past 2 years, aggressive protesters have repeatedly blocked access to the electorate office for people seeking assistance. This has also significantly affected churchgoers attending the neighbouring St. Clement's Church, including disruption to funerals and other church services." The site was owned by a neighbouring Anglican church, which Albanese claimed ended the lease because of the ongoing protests.
Venezuela has accused the U.S. Navy of raiding a local fishing boat amidst rising tensions between the two countries. Officials claim the incident violated national sovereignty, while the U.S. has yet to release an official response.
These Venezuelans are learning how to assemble, aim and shoot their weapons in order to defend their country. They're heeding the call of their president, Nicolas Maduro.
We're here today giving our best as Venezuelans, staying united in fraternity and standing shoulder to shoulder for what may happen in the coming days.
The threat, US imperialism, according to Venezuela's government. Tensions between the South American country and the US have significantly escalated recently. Washington ordered the biggest naval buildup in the Caribbean in years, targeting drug traffickers. Nicolas Maduro himself is accused of running a drug trafficking network. Venezuela sees the US's actions as an invasion.
We are preparing ourselves, whereas they, the United States, are pressuring, conducting a brutal psychological operations exercise. We're here at maximum readiness.
The weapons training took place the same day a US destroyer intercepted, boarded and occupied a Venezuelan fishing boat carrying 9 fishermen for 8 hours. The country's foreign minister demanded that the United States stop such actions, which put peace and security at risk in the region.
A massive fire has erupted in one of Manila's most densely populated areas, leaving thousands of residents homeless. Emergency services are battling the blaze while authorities work to provide temporary shelters and aid to those affected by the disaster.
A massive fire has erupted in one of Manila's most densely populated neighborhoods, displacing thousands of residents and causing widespread panic. The flames spread rapidly through tightly packed homes, sending thick smoke into the sky and forcing families to flee with only what they could carry. Firefighters and emergency crews rushed to the scene, battling extreme heat and challenging conditions to prevent the blaze from spreading further. Authorities have set up temporary shelters, providing food, water and essential support for those affected, while volunteers and local organizations assist in relief efforts. Officials are investigating the cause of the fire, but no immediate explanation has been confirmed. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos as residents watched their homes and belongings go up in flames. The incident underscores the vulnerabilities of highly populated urban areas and highlights the urgent need for improved fire safety measures and community preparedness in Manila.
US military officers have made a surprise visit to the Belarus to observe joint war games with Russian forces. The visit comes amidst rising tensions in Eastern Europe, drawing international attention to shifting military and diplomatic dynamics.
US military officers have made a surprise visit to Belarus to observe joint war games being conducted alongside Russian forces, in a move that has drawn significant international attention. The visit comes amid rising tensions in Eastern Europe, as analysis warns such exercises could heighten geopolitical uncertainties in the region. While official statements describe the visit as a part of ongoing military observation and assessment, critics argue it could be seen as a provocative signal given the ongoing conflict in neighboring Ukraine. Observers are closely monitoring the drills, which involve complex maneuvers and coordinated operations, to assess the readiness and strategic intentions of the forces involved. The presence of US officers in Belarus highlights a delicate balance of military diplomacy as nations seek to maintain communication and oversight while avoiding escalation. The situation underscores the continued volatility in Eastern Europe, where military movements and international visits are being watched closely for any signs of broader tensions.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. And welcome back. The 77th Emmy Awards were presented on Sunday, and 3 shows dominated during the television's biggest night. The Pitt, Severance, Hacks and Adolescents were big winners of the night. The studio also broke a record for the most wins by a comedy for a single series. And here's a look at the most defining moments of the night.
It was a night of surprises for television's top awards show. The studio was the biggest winner of the evening. The film industry satire took a record-setting 13 awards in the comedy category, including acting, directing and writing for its co-creator Seth Rogen, who plays a studio head battling his desires for big box office versus artistic success.
Never won anything in my life. When I was a kid, I bought a used bowling trophy at an estate sale. And my parents were like, yeah, that's a good idea. You should probably buy that.
The series Hacks also won big, with co-stars Jean Smart and Hannah Einbinder taking Best Actress and Supporting Actress in a comedy series. Einbinder used her speech to criticize both U.S. immigration enforcement, ICE, and Israel's ongoing assault on Gaza. Just one of multiple messages of support for Palestinians over the course of the evening.
Alex, you've lost a lot of blood. You need to go to surgery right away.
In the drama category, there were wins for both Old Hands and Fresh Faces. Noah Weil took home Best Actor for his turn in The Pit, after losing out 5 times with nominations in the 90s for ER. While 15-year-old Owen Cooper became the youngest ever winner of Best Supporting Actor in a limited series for adolescents, the story of a British teenager accused of murder.
Wow, it's just so surreal. Honestly, when I started these drama classes a couple of years back, I didn't expect to be even in the United States, never mind here.
The TV hit stunned viewers with its technical prowess. Each episode was filmed in just one take, helping it net 6 awards in the limited drama category.
The perfect home is never easy to find, and sometimes it is discovered in the most unlikeliest places. For some birds, nothing sounds more like home than these few eccentric nesting spots. Take a look.
These birds set their nest up in strange places. In 2017, this pigeon made herself at home in a colander in the kitchen of a New York City apartment. Genevieve Roman tried calling animal control for help. In 2017, a pair of wild geese nested their eggs in an empty flower pot outside the emergency room and maternity ward of a Nebraska hospital.
They must think there's going to be an emergency and they're going to need some care very quickly, which is kind of funny. You can see them bickering once in a while, which is the reason we named them Alice and Ralph.
After the honeymooners.
You seem to have forgotten that I am a woman.
I forgot that you're a woman? How could I? You're always yapping.
The geese even had security detail.
We've had to go out and kind of help distract the goose and draw them away so that people are able to get out of their cars. So.
A month later, 6 little goslings hatched. But afterward, the space quickly became cramped, and some of them started falling out of the pot. which meant it was time to move on, and the family made their way to a nearby lake. In 2023, a mama bird laid her eggs on the 25-yard line of a Huntington Beach, California high school football field. Everyone did everything they could to protect the killdeer. Federal law stated the mama and her eggs couldn't be relocated, so all activities on the field and around it were suspended until they walked or flew away. In August of 2025, a school in Minnesota was thrown for a loop when a pair of ospreys decided to build a nest on one of the towers that light their football field. It presented many problems for Apple Valley High School. The ospreys are protected by law, and turning on the lights would harm the animals. So the school had to rearrange its sports schedule and play football games during the day. Once they flew the coop, the lights could once again shine.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Amasha Fernando, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of the top looks at the red carpet of the 77th Primetime Emmy Awards. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Prashansa Gunawardena will be joining you next with the Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching and have a great night.